Now, that doesn't mean that the mechanism isn't broken in some ways. And I think both can be true. All right, so let's take a look at that. And let's take a look at the mechanism. Let's take a look at where we're at right now, in particular this week when the portal is just like jumping off, man. It's crazy. There's been 1,000 players jump in the portal since it opened after the season. And what ends up happening now is that the timing of college football is converging as if it's traffic on the 405. It's like we're shutting down 5 lanes and just getting into one lane, and we're just going to jam all the traffic into one lane. It's too much. The calendar is overwhelmed right now, so nobody can be effective. Coaches can't be effective. Players can't be effective. Administrators can't be effective because too much is going on. And what we have right now is we're trying to sign high school players to the early signing day. The portal is open, and those players are trying to commit. Coaching carousel is going on actively. We've got awards season. Like I was just in Vegas for award season. So we're trying to like put a bow on the season. Some teams are done. Other teams are not. They're going to bowl games. Other teams are in the playoff. And yet we're trying to like jam all of this in there. You know, I'm seeing these coaches out there, whether it's Dan Lanning from Oregon or Steve Sarkisian from Texas. And I look at them and they look like ghosts because it's like they're swamped and they can't be effective. They can't be effective with their current roster and they can't be effective with their future roster at all. Why? Because the mechanism is broken. That doesn't mean the transfer portal doesn't have a place. It just means that we got to fix the calendar. That's one of the things. You know, decisions in this moment, I think, are made with either incorrect or incomplete information. And that's not good for anybody. That's not good for the programs, clearly. And it's not good for the players. You see, I'm a parent, as I'm sure a lot of you are as well. There are a lot of great things that I want my kids to have or partake in. But that doesn't mean that they get to have all those great things and partake in all of those cool things all the time, right? Because that wouldn't be healthy for them. There's got to be a balance. And I'm talking about where is our balance. So let's talk about that a little bit and talk about, you know, what we could do and maybe a couple of more of the downsides. A couple of these players that are in the transfer portal are in there for a second time. Dillon Gabriel is one of them. Hot commodity, obviously. And a lot of why wouldn't he be? And I love it. Teams are vying for Dillon Gabriel's services. Cam Ward is another one. These guys have already played at 2 schools, and now they're going to play at a 3rd. Okay. Well, step back from that for just a moment, and you'll see that when you add the element of NIL and the ability of collectives to basically pay players, offer them NIL deals, here's what happens. We've gone from no autonomy for the player, can't monetize their own name, image, and likeness, have no ability to move around outside of, the recent, graduate exception or maybe applying for a hardship, which used to be just an incredibly high bar to get over. And so here we are now, and we've swung the pendulum back. Okay. And guess where we're at now? Now we're in a setting where a player really has 3 bites at the free agency apple in 5 years. So he's going to come out as a high school player and basically be bid on by all these collectives and teams. How much are they willing to pay him in NIL? Then, at any moment, he can leave. Boom. Gone. Guess what he is now? He's in the portal, and he is a free agent. And now he is a commodity that can be bid on in the portal. So that's his second opportunity at basically free agency. Then he can graduate, get his degree, and move again freely wherever he wants. That's a 3rd bite at the free agency apple in 5 years. But here's the kicker. You might be thinking like, so, okay, fine. That's fair enough. but it can happen at any moment. And because it can happen at any moment, my fear is that he, the player, is not going to be developed to his fullest potential by any of the places that vie for his services. And the reason is that he can up and leave at any moment. So there's no reciprocation here, okay? There's not a two-way agreement here. So what is the program's incentive to pour into the development of that player, whether that's on the field, whether that's as a person or physically, from a health perspective, a mental health perspective, or even in the weight room? Okay, what's the incentive there for these programs? If that player can leave at any moment, what is the incentive? And because of that, now we've got a whole slew of players that are not being developed on the field. So I believe that they're not reaching their potential. They're not going through anything hard from an adversity standpoint. So they're not growing as young men. Because let's face it, any of us who are a little bit older, we know that we grew the most as men or as adults, ladies out there, as adults, when we went through something hard. And then we were forced to address something hard in our life. And we came through it. That's when the most growth happens. Well, that's not happening in college football anymore. Because the autonomy happens whenever they want. Whenever they want. I'm fearful that what we're having is what we're creating here is a sport full of talented athletes that are not developed as football players. Because again, they're not there for enough time, long enough period of time to be developed. Okay? And again, I'm talking about as people and physically as well as players, in particular quarterbacks. It takes 2 or 3 years to develop as a quarterback. Okay? It takes that within your system to learn the game, to learn the sport. And now we just got guys just like freely going all over the place. And they're just rent-a-players for a year. And I just wondered to myself, like, well, is this really actually good for the players themselves? Thank you for watching the Joel Klatt Show YouTube channel. And if you liked this clip, make sure to like it and subscribe to the channel. And you can stay up to date on all of my college football coverage.